What's up, everyone? Welcome to Cracka, which is comics, reviews, awesome movies, comedy, and anything else I think kicks ass. This is episode number 41, and we're continuing the short box that I had. This had all the X Factor and X Force stuff in it. So we're going to move on to Excalibur. Hopefully. There we go. Alright. Take them all out, make my life a little easier. Don't have much Excalibur run, but working on it. This is number 55, where Psylocke fights her brother Captain Britain. We got number 57, where the X-Men come into play. Number 58, with Nightcrawler. And last but not least, number 73. As you can see, I really don't have a huge Excalibur run. I kind of liked it, kind of didn't. It was it's one of those things. But moving on, I did start getting, when they came out, Excalibur Volume 2. Didn't get a lot of them, but mostly because it was the House of M. This is number 13. I got number 14. And then I got the newer run after that, which was called New Excalibur. And the only reason I got this one was because the Juggernaut. This is number 13. And moving on. This was actually called Strife's Strike File. It's number 1. It's kind of like his files on all the X-Men and stuff like that that have to do with the Executioner song. Very interesting. And I'm going to move on to Cable, Volume 1. This is Cable number 1 right here. And I actually have 2 copies of it. Because back when I was a kid, I figured all the number ones would be worth a lot of money, and a lot of the ones that I have aren't worth any money. So here's number 2. So you got to be kind of wary. I mean, it is definitely a good idea to buy all number 1s, because you never know which is going to be that book that's going to be worth money. This is number 9. And this was the collector's item issue number 1. Very cool. Moving on to Deadpool. A lot of people didn't even know that Deadpool had a series before the series he has now. This is number 1, which was kind of like the limited series kind of thing. Came out in the 90s. Then this was the newer versions. This is number 28. He fights Bullseye, which is actually a really good issue. This is number 1 from the newer series. And this is number 2. That's pretty much all I have of Deadpool. Moving on. To this was called Mutant X, and basically it's got to do with Havoc. I can't remember how the hell he got into it, but it's kind of like an alternate timeline. He gets he was fighting somebody and he winds up getting nailed into the ocean, I think it was, and he winds up in a coma, and then he wakes up and he's in this alternate timeline where he's married to Madeline Pryor, and the X-Men are kind of bad guys, which is strange. Like, a lot of people's different, like, a lot of X-Men are different. Like Storm is a vampire, Archangel and stuff like that, they're all different. But this is number 1. It was an interesting storyline. This was number 16. It's funny because basically Mutant X, all the good guys are bad guys and all the bad guys are good guys. This is number 28 with Wolverine. As you can see, he was feral. He lived in the woods. He never really joined the X-Men in this. So that's pretty much all I have for Mutant X. Eventually I'm going to get around to picking up some other ones. Moving on to a limited series. Pretty much back in the 80s. every single character had their own limited series that were in groups, like especially the X-Men. And because I'm an Archangel fan, that's why I picked it up. But this is Archangel limited series. This was actually in the 90s, but in the 80s they did have another one. This was the newer version from the 90s, but I can't remember what number this one was. Anyway, they in the 80s they had like which I'm still gonna eventually grab. I have seen a couple of them going pretty cheap, but lately my funds are pretty terrible, so it's gonna have to wait. But like I was saying, in the 80s they did have a lot of limited series. Here's one, which is Nightcrawler #1. I love Nightcrawler. I think he's awesome. This is #2. And #3. And last but not least, #4. So I have his entire limited run. Basically, like I said, in the 80s, everyone had their own limited series. I know Beast had one, Iceman I was looking at, Cyclops, you know, they all were trying to figure out who was going to do the best. And obviously, out of all of them, Wolverine's the one that won. They did come out with one somewhat more recently, I guess in the early, well, probably middle 2000s, and that's Nightcrawler Volume 1, or well, Volume 2, whichever one it is. And I have 2 of those, so that's pretty cool. Again, I'm a Nightcrawler fan, so. And of course, it was one of those ones you're like, oh, you know, it's probably gonna be worth something, and like King Joe says, if you watch his thing, it all goes for what you want to sell for, what you can get your collection for, your items if you want to sell them. But you never know what's really worth a lot until it comes around. This was a Gambit and Bishop limited series. Interesting combination. Part 2 of 6. Moving on to this was actually the I think I have a couple different ones in here, but it might just still be the first series. A lot of people again don't know that Gambit had an earlier series than the one that just recently came out, but this is #1 from the 90s. Very cool. This is #2. And #3, I believe. Yep, #3. They weren't too bad. And #4. But unfortunately, they didn't do all that great, so they canceled it pretty quick. Gambit's had so many like limited series to his credit, and they just never do well. And I'm kind of hoping that perhaps this new one that he's in will do better than the other ones. This was actually the Gambit giant-sized annual from the first series, first volume. Very cool. And I actually do have it. This is another run of Gambit. This was his #1 from his second series. That was in the late 90s. So very cool. And then this was the not for resale Gambit #4, which is one that came with his Marvel Legends figure. Very cool. And that's pretty much it for this box. I've gone through all my X Factors. You've seen my stuff in there, as well as my X Force. Number 42, episode 42. I still don't know what I'm going to do, which box I'm going to start on. I might show you my fiance's comics, which would be pretty quick. No, actually, she's got her own box now, so she's happy. She's got a place to store her stuff, and maybe I'll do that one for number 42. Who knows? I will be doing eventually my DVD stuff. As you can see, there's just a small little sample of some statues that I have, some mini busts, and my comic book related DVDs. And then there's more comic book related DVDs. You'll see them in a better, and there's even more over there. You'll definitely see them in a better light when I get a chance to do the the actual video, but that was just a little taste for you. And of course, every one of those cabinets is just packed with DVDs, so it's insane, but you'll see that eventually. So you have to come in. I can't talk now. I've gone tongue-tied. Wow, man, it's definitely late. But anyway, you have to come back and see what I do next. And as always, thanks for watching and taking the time to watch the videos. If you like what you see, hit the little like button. If you really like it, subscribe. If you're someone new watching, subscriptions are always great, and comments are always great. So go nuts, ask all you want, all the questions you want. If you have an idea you want to see for a future episode, by all means let me know, and I'll see you next time. Later.